Toyota keeps playing with my heart and announces that they will be unveiling multiple electric cars this year, but this time for reals. Double stamp, no erases. InsideEVs contributor, and at this point my personal therapist Tom Moloughney will be here to sort out my feelings. Bolt EV has gotten less, what's the word that starts with the U? Oh, unpleasantly looking as the second generation model, and its crossover sibling EUV were unveiled. Porsche Taycan 2 got a sibling. I think this one's gonna get all the ladies. Meet the new e-tron GT, while the Taycan kept busy by setting a weird Guinness World Record, but aren't they all, I guess? Edmunds reported that Tesla's EPA ratings don't match their testing numbers, and I reported that the sky was blue and that Edmunds' testing doesn't match common sense. Grab some popcorn as we will watch the part of the Super Bowl that wasn't cheesy and predictable, the Cadillac Lyrics commercial, and 5 social media ads of the Mustang Mach-E with props as spectacular as they were unnecessary, like rockets, lightning, and twins. And other electric car news coming up next. Welcome to E4 Electric, your #1 source of electric car scoop. If this is your first time here, well, you're a little bit late, but that's okay. All you have to do to redeem yourself is click on the subscribe button and the bell notification icon so you don't miss anything moving forward. So you know how Toyota's been saying for years that electric cars, you know, they're not for everyone. They're definitely not for us, so we're not gonna make any, but this week they said, you know, we're gonna make a couple and see how it goes, and we're gonna throw an extra plug-in hybrid. So they're saying that 3 electric vehicles are gonna be unveiled this year, but you know, I'm still afraid to get my heart broken. And this is a Valentine's Day. Their press release has only one picture, and it has the Mirai and the RAV4 Prime on it, which are already on the market. A couple of weeks ago, they did produce a picture which looked like was drawn by a 5-year-old, but that's all we have. So we don't really know what these cars are going to look like. Now, Lexus, Toyota's luxury brand, has produced a video teaser, and the car there looks pretty cool, but their CEO, Akio Toyoda, has always been spreading all kinds of weird lies and untruths about electric cars. So the question is, have they taken enough therapy to come to grips with this reality and actually going to produce electric cars for reals this time? And I gotta say, if they are, I would expect Toyota to actually come up with something very competitive, because they're no strangers to making electric powertrains, and they have already have a few contracts in place, including Panasonic, to make the batteries. All right, I just realized that I forgot to put my watch and my jewelry, so now that I look pretty enough for you guys, we're gonna turn to the InsideEVs contributor and my fashion advisor, Tom Moloughney. But before that though, a quick reminder that this channel and this video is sponsored by Bosley. Bosley offers the only permanent solution to hair loss, and there is more than one option for you. I know, because I'm one of their customers. That's me right there. Get the free information kit and a discount gift card. Who doesn't like those? By going to bosley.com/e or use the link in the description of this video. And by NeoCharge. Are you a home renter and don't have the ability to install level 2 charging? Well, forget about asking your landlord and share an existing 220 outlet by plugging in the NeoCharge Smart Splitter. Get one by using the link and the discount code in the description of this video. All right, Tom, well, here we are again talking about Toyota. This time they're saying they're doing it. They're doing it. It's this year, 2 EVs, 1 plug-in hybrid. Do we believe them now?
You know, I don't believe them until we see them. And, you know, it's promising, Alex, but we've been over this before. We've talked about Toyota and how, you know, they've been nothing but constantly knocking electric vehicles and talking about how hybrids are great. And even in this press release, you know, they talk about how plug-in hybrids are just as good for the environment as full EVs are, and they cost less. So, you know, they might be a better deal. So it's kind of like they're talking out of both sides of their mouth.
They did mention that, hey, we'll sell you the EV if you want to, but it's going to be way more expensive than PHEV. All right, but on the other hand, you know, the RAV4 Prime, the plug-in hybrid, is essentially the best plug-in hybrid on the market now that there is no Volt. Do you think we can expect that with all of the whining and bitching about it, they will actually come up with a pretty decent electric car when they do?
You know, I think they will, because Toyota knows how to make cars. There's a reason why, you they're the biggest auto manufacturer in the world. They build pretty good cars. I think, when they put their mind to it, they'll probably build a good EV. I don't know if the user interface will be as good as some of the other vehicles that are out there. But as far as the nuts and bolts of the battery and electric motors and so forth, I think they'll do a pretty good job with that. I just hope they use their new dedicated ETNGA platform for these two new cars. That's that new platform that they announced they were coming out with that was purpose-built just for electric vehicles.
All right, now listen, they made 1,000 different excuses, especially their CEO, about why nobody needs electric cars, especially right now. Some of them might have merit, and we've talked about it before, but let's just set their comments aside. Could there be some good marketing strategy or just business strategy that, the world is really not ready for electric cars yet, so why make them, and why not have Tesla and GM and everybody else pioneer this, and by the time the infrastructure is going to be in place, boom, now we can come in.
Yeah, I mean, there's some truth to that, and that could be for some companies a good business plan if they're able to scale up that quickly and actually build a good electric car, which I have to believe a company like Toyota would be able to. And don't forget, they make so many hybrids. They dominate the world in regular hybrids, not plug-in hybrids. And that they make the Toyota a lot of money, the regular hybrids. So I understand on one hand why they've been so, tepid with not moving into full EVs. But I think the time's coming now where they have to. And if they don't, they are going to fall behind, and even a company like Toyota might have trouble catching up.
Now, earlier, I talked about how, my own girlfriend may not be getting an electric car. She drives a Toyota right now, and now I'm thinking, I'm actually shopping for a condo in Las Vegas, and by the way, no, you can't stay there because I know you're a party animal, Tom. I don't want to jeopardize my property like that. No, but I'm serious. I'm shopping for a condo, and there's no dedicated electric car chargers there, and it might cost me thousands of dollars to do it. Now, someone like me or you might actually do it, but an average Joe might say, you know what? I'd rather take the condo rather than having to, get an electric car and then deal with it. Is this still a serious issue where people would rather not buy an electric car simply because it's a hassle or expensive or almost impossible to get the at-home charger?
So, where we are today in the industry as far as access to charging, it still is difficult for some people, many people, to really live with an electric car. It's not the perfect situation or solution for everybody today, but that's okay because we're not nearly ready to have everybody transition to electric vehicles today. This is going to be a gradual transition over the next, 6 to 10 years. And the infrastructure is going to improve. But unfortunately, currently, for some people that live in multifamily dwellings, apartments, condos, it can be challenging. Now, many people make it work. I want to get that straight. If you want to make it work, you can make it work. You can find public charging and make it work. But for some people that maybe aren't that vested in doing it right now, they don't really want to do it. It could be a little cumbersome and a hassle, and maybe the plug-in hybrid is a better solution for someone like that. But I think with this transition period that we're in now, Alex, is going to go away within the next 5 years, and most people are going to have access to charging.
All right. Well, maybe I'll bring you to my HOA negotiation a session for installing the charger. But by the way, Tom, do you think do you think that part of our audience may not be aware when we're having this conversation about it, like that I usually take the opposite opinion of you just to play devil's advocate, and I don't really hate electric cars? Do you think that's maybe because every time we talk about it, like, oh, Alex hates electric cars, that's why he has this, do you think we should put some sort of a disclaimer?
That's fine. People jump over and subscribe to my channel and leave your channel. So I'm not going to
Great. Great.
And we don't want anyone to leave your channel. We want you to join both. But, I think some people get that. And, but there is, while you do lay it up for us to have a little back and forth, we are at a little bit different places, you and I, philosophically on this, where, I might be a little bit more bullish on the ability to make electric vehicles work today for more people than you are. And I understand that, and I know where you're coming from, and I agree that it's not the perfect situation for everyone right now, but luckily we're not ready for everyone to transition to electric vehicles yet. We're going to be inside of this decade, but today it still poses challenges in getting the car charged for many people.
So that's who's been stealing my subscribers. Well, you know what? Don't subscribe to Tom's channel, and especially don't do it by clicking the link in the description of this video and watching some of his awesome content. Don't do that. All right, let's get to the rest of the news, and we have a lot of exciting news. 2 birth announcements, and we'll start with the Bolt EV and its crossover version EUV. Both were unveiled in the partnership with Disney in this video, with the most adorable children and flying elephants. Now, when I saw the prototypes for both about a year ago in Detroit, I've been telling you guys that I haven't been very excited about the new look, but now that I see the final version on video, I gotta say, it's actually not bad. I'm not saying it's pretty, I'm just saying it's not ugly anymore. One thing that will remain ugly about this car is that its maximum charging rate is still 55 kilowatts. But the price for the Bolt EV actually came down about $5,000. It will now start at around $32,000, and the EUV will start at around $34,000. Now let me remind you that Chevy does no longer have the $7,500 tax incentive in the United States. The Bolt EV will stay at around the same 259 miles of EPA range, and the EUV will have just a little bit less at 250. Both will be the first Chevy cars to offer Super Cruise and apparently the Plaid mode. Elon, get your lawyers. Now, the new features that I am excited about are the addition of the Alexa and Spotify, plus the wireless implementation of Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, something that I was missing in my Chevy all this time. Also, Chevrolet will pay the reasonable fees for your at-home charger installation. That's pretty cool. Now, let me remind you that Chevy's in the middle of a very awkward recall right now, where for over 3 months, they still don't know what's going on with the batteries in the existing Chevy Bolts, and they've been limiting their owners to charging at no more than 90%. Let's get to the next unveiling, and this one is pretty big as well. Audi has finally unveiled its e-tron GT. As you guys probably know, this one is based on Porsche Taycan, and it's priced under $100,000, which is totally going to screw up my prediction that the Taycan is going to outsell the Model S like they did in Q4, because this baby might take some sales away from them. It's also better looking, I think. The concept was unveiled a couple of years ago, and they knew they got something really good, because when I drove that car through the streets of Los Angeles, they hired 4 cops to keep their eye on me. It's either that or they got a hold of my DMV record. Either way, I had to return it, but look at the difference between the prototype and the production version. I think this is the first car that actually looks better in its production version. Let me know in the comment section if you agree. And yes, it will have a performance version, the RS. That one will start at $140,000, will go from 0 to 60 in 3.3 seconds. Both versions will have a dual motor and a 93 kilowatt-hour battery with 85 kilowatt-hours usable. The range is going to be 238 miles for the regular version and 232 miles for the RS version. The charging will be at the maximum speed of 270 kilowatts, just like Porsche Taycan. Now, Audi will have 3 electric cars on the market by the end of this year, but they definitely like one of their kids better than others, probably because it's going to pay most of their rent. They've been advertising the e-tron GT for a while now, including the Super Bowl, and I don't mean the last Super Bowl, I mean the Super Bowl before that, plus all of these blockbuster movies like the Avengers and the Spider-Man, while the perfectly good e-tron SUV has been for sale for over a year now. Meanwhile, the brother of the newly unveiled e-tron GT, the Porsche Taycan, was busy celebrating setting a Guinness World Record. Which category, you ask? Well, we know it's not the lowest price or the longest range. The category was the record for the indoor land speed. Now, I know what you're thinking. Isn't this essentially a record for the longest building with no tenant in it? Listen, let's just have Porsche have this one before Elon finds out about it, buys it, and then flies the Roadster on the rocket through it. The record was set at 165 kilometers an hour, which is a little over 100 miles an hour indoor land speed. I didn't even know there was a category like that. I thought it was as silly and made up as the largest collection of rubber ducks. Oh. Edmunds has decided to conduct a test that all of us, the electric car drivers, have been conducting for years to see if the real-world range matches the EPA range. Spoiler alert, it doesn't. All of the Tesla models have ended up under the EPA range by anywhere from 2 to 17%, which is actually kind of generous. I remember when I was driving my Teslas, all of them were about 30% off, and I just kind of got used to it. But then when I tested the Porsche Taycan, which by the way, they've tested at about 10 degrees Fahrenheit higher temperature than they've tested most of the Teslas, which is a big difference, that one somehow magically performed over 60% better than the EPA rating, going about 323 miles. Now, if this wasn't a sign that this test wasn't good, the Nissan Leaf apparently overperformed the EPA rating by 10%, and I know that's not true because I just drove one from Oakland back to Sacramento at around 70 degrees Fahrenheit, and my test showed minus 40% from the EPA range. Granted, I was driving it mainly on freeway, but still, this is not my first rodeo with the Leaf, and it never does the EPA rating, not even close. And I know people are aware that Tesla does their EPA test differently, but that's on EPA, not having a good standardized test, and on everybody else who doesn't do the same thing. Play the same game, get the same numbers, and everybody else will know that all of the EPA ratings are usually underperformed, just like with the gas ratings. Let's talk about Rivian. Now, we've seen a lot of electric car startups like Fisker, Arrival, Canoo, and many others. Lucid is going to be probably joining them, go public via a reverse merger. Now, Rivian ain't doing that. They're doing it the right way. They're going to file for IPO, reportedly at least $50 billion valuation. That will put them in top 10 of all auto manufacturers in the world. Yes, that's more than Honda, Ford, Nissan, and many others. By the way, the video that you're watching right now was posted on Twitter by their CEO, RJ Scaringe, and this is their electric truck R1T testing in Arizona. It is coming. All right, last week our top story was about this awesome Super Bowl commercial by GM featuring Will Ferrell. It got so much social media attention, including from the Norwegian Prime Minister, Ford, Audi. It was absolutely amazing. It was so great that we forgot to mention the other GM commercial that was featuring the Cadillac Lyric. It starred Winona Ryder, but the main character was Edgar, the son of Edward Scissorhands. It was a long, sobby story which ended up featuring very little of the Cadillac Lyric. As a matter of fact, I wasn't really sure if the audience would even know that this was an electric car. Essentially, it was featuring the Super Cruise rather than anything else, but at the end of the day, kudos to GM once again putting the money where their mouth is and advertising the electric cars during one of the biggest television events of the year. Meanwhile, Ford also wanted us to know that they too have a pretty good television production budget, and they've put together a series of 5 videos titled Mustang Mach-E versus everything. And by everything, they meant 5 very odd things that I normally wouldn't compare an electric car to, but you be the judge. So Mustang Mach-E versus the Lightning to showcase the fast charging, the Rocket Science to showcase the range, the Gravity to showcase the torque and the big budget for the chandeliers, the DNA, my favorite for the obvious reasons, to showcase the customized driver profiles, and the Pit Crew to showcase the over-the-air updates. But don't get me wrong, I appreciate the creativity and the twins, but at the same time, I feel like there are more simpler ways how to showcase things like torque. For example, in this little video that I saw from Xpeng Motors, even before they became the sponsors, and maybe this is the reason why they became the sponsors. I love magic. Now, I know what you're thinking, Alex, this video is almost over and I don't know what to watch next. Well, your luck. my last video was actually pretty good as well. In that video, I break down the whole deal with Tesla buying the Bitcoin and possibly accepting it as currency for their future car sales. But most importantly, I break down what Bitcoin really is and why it's going to become part of our lives, whether we like it or not. I linked to that video in the description of this one. All right, looking forward to all of your comments. Other than that, see you guys next time, and remember to stay charged.